Marilyn Monroe, a name that still resonates with elegance, mystery, and deep tragic allure. She was not just a Hollywood actress or a pretty face. She was a cultural force, an icon that symbolized glamour and vulnerability all in one. Her smile lit up movie screens. Her beauty was worshipped around the world, and yet, behind the spotlight, behind the fame, Marilyn Monroe was someone many never truly understood. Her sudden death shut millions from lifelessly in her bedroom. The official cause of death was labeled as overdose, a tragic end to a troubled soul. But was it really that simple? That's a question that has haunted generations. Because as the years passed, more and more questions began to emerge. Details that didn't lie, testimonies that shifted, and theories that refused to die. Was Marilyn Monroe an old man who took too many pills, or was her death part of something far darker? Let's examine the story beneath the story, not by twisting a timeline, but by dissecting the world she lived in, the people she trusted, and the secrets she might have known. Marilyn Monroe lived in a world filled with contradictions. On the one hand, she was the most photographed woman of her time, desired, celebrated, and adored. On the other hand, she felt deeply isolated, controlled, and used. In many ways, her life was never truly hers. From the studios that shaped her image to the doctors who controlled her mind and body through prescriptions, Marilyn's autonomy was always in question. Even her voice, breathy, childlike, flirtatious, was something she crafted carefully for the camera, a shield for someone far more intelligent and far more troubled than the public ever saw. She struggled with mental health. She suffered from insomnia. She had miscarriages. She saw love but often found manipulation. And somewhere in the midst of all that, she got involved with people who were far more powerful than anyone should be allowed to be. Among them were JFK, or John F. Kennedy, the President of the United States, and his brother Robert, the Attorney General. It's no longer a secret that she had some kind of a relationship with both. What's depicted is just how deep those relationships went and what she knew because of them. Some people close to her said she spoke opinion about her connections to the Kennedys, even bragged about them. Others claim she was heartbroken after being discarded. Still, others suggest she had begun writing things down, keeping a diary that included sensitive, possibly national level secrets. This is where things get murky, not just emotionally, but politically. Because if Marilyn knew things, even things that she didn't fully understood, that posed a risk. If she was spreading to go public, even unintentionally, that could have terrified some very powerful people. The reports said it was a probable suicide. That she was found with an empty pill bottle lying face down in her bed, naked with the phone still in her hand. But from the very beginning, the thin raised eyebrows, there were inconsistencies, lots of them. Some said the room was cleaned before the police arrived. Others noted that the first people on the scene were not law enforcement. They were her doctor and psychiatrist. Her housekeeper gave several conflicting accounts of what happened that night. Even the timing of when her body was discovered and when emergency services were actually called didn't quite make sense. Then there was the autopsy. It revealed high levels of barbiturates in her blood, but only none were found in her stomach. That suggested the drugs may not have been ingested orally, but perhaps administered through an enema or injection. Something much harder to trace and far more suspicious. And perhaps the most unsettling of all, there was no suicide note. For someone as poetic, reflective, and expressive as Marilyn Monroe, an old man who often wrote in notebooks and journals, the absence of any final words felt deafening. Of course, people do commit suicide without leaving anything. It was not unheard of. But in this case, it felt a growing belief that something wasn't right. Over the years, multiple theories have emerged to fill the gaps. One of the most well-known is the candy conspiracy. It suggests that either John or Robert or both were involved in Marilyn's sentencing. Some versions say she was becoming unstable and threatening to hold a press conference. Others say she was simply collateral damage in a political world that couldn't afford scandal. The idea is not necessarily that the candies murder her themselves, but people around them took action to protect their power. Another theory implicates that mafia. There's a well-documented history of the mafia being involved in Hollywood, the music industry, and even presidential politics. Some believe the mafia used Marilyn to gain leverage over the candidates, and that when she outlived her usefulness, she got rid of them, perhaps even to send a message. Then there are theories involving government agencies, the CIA, the FBI, who might have seen Marilyn as a loose end, a risk, a liability, especially if she was writing things down, especially if she was talking to the wrong people. All of these theories have one thing in common. They treat Marilyn not as a tragic individual, but as a threat. An old man whose ability, intelligence, and access to powerful men put her in a position no one had anticipated. But while these conspiracy theories are intriguing, even cinematic, I don't entirely believe them. I don't think Marilyn Monroe was assassinated in a shadow government plot. I don't think a hit was ordered. I don't think she was murdered because she held the nuclear codes. That's not to say her death wasn't suspicious. It absolutely was. But sometimes tragedy isn't a conspiracy. Sometimes it's just a perfect storm of negligence, manipulation, and abandonment. Because here's one way to know. Marilyn Monroe was over prescribed. She was taking multiple medications from multiple doctors who didn't communicate with each other. Her mental health was fragile, but instead of therapy, or protection, she was given pills. She was surrounded by people who wanted to manage her, not care for her, even those closest to her. Lovers, managers, doctors treated her more like a product than a person, and when her mind began to crack under the pressure, no one stepped in. No one took pills away. No one truly listened. Many years before, because maybe she took the pills herself, maybe she wanted the pain to stop, or maybe she didn't. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe someone gave her something they shouldn't have. Maybe she cried for help, and help came too late. Either way, the system failed her. The studios failed her. The band who claimed to love her failed her. The medical professionals failed her, and we, the public, failed her too, because we bought into the fantasy and never stopped to see the old man benefit. She was brilliant, she was funny, she was thoughtful, she was complex, and she deserved better. In the end, what makes Marilyn Monroe's death so haunting is not just the mystery. It's a reality. It's a reality that we may never fully understand. Not because it was hidden, but because no one cared enough to protect it while she was alive. Thanks for watching.